You have just finished being Doctor Who. Well, I say finished, maybe you haven't finished, but we won't come to that.
Ncuti Gatwa left the Doctor Who role just over a month ago. Or did he?
Never say never.
There's currently a lot of talk and speculation going round online that Ncuti Gatwa, in fact, is still the current Doctor. Sure, we saw that Billie Piper regeneration, but she's not credited as the Doctor. Ncuti says he doesn't know who the next Doctor is.
I just don't know who the next Doctor Who is.
And he's been leaving supposed cryptic clues about his return in interviews.
Big Doctor Who. We all saw the gold sparkle. Or did we? I don't know.
He says never say never to a Doctor Who return. Is this all a wink nod at the audience that, in fact, Ncuti Gatwa will be returning to the role? Well, hold your horses. I personally do not think so. I will read you through the theory that people are coming up with about his return and about how he is still the Doctor and Billie Piper. Look, we'll read that theory in a minute. But I'm just saying, right away, I do think it's very clear Ncuti Gatwa left early. He wasn't always supposed to leave the role so quickly, but we're going to break down and discuss what led him to leave Doctor Who, the sort of truth behind all of this, because there's so much theory and speculation going on, especially because Doctor Who's currently in a really weird place where it hasn't been recommissioned for the first time since 2005. We don't know the future of the show. We very well could be in a new wilderness years. It could be cancelled, it could be a hiatus, it could be 5 or 6 years until new Doctor Who comes out. So I understand why all these theories and rumours and speculation are going around. But first up, let's discuss these rumours about... because it's not impossible that Ncuti is still the Doctor and will be returning to the show. Let's discuss all the clues and rumours and stuff that he's said on his recent press tour for the new stage show he's doing. And then the latter half of the video is going to be discussing the facts, the things that we know, the truth behind Ncuti Gatwa leaving Doctor Who. In this recent BBC radio interview, Ncuti was asked, "Are you actually leaving Doctor Who?" And his answer isn't as straightforward as you'd have imagined.
You have just finished being Doctor Who. Well, I say finished, maybe you haven't finished, but we won't come to that. Some people who think you didn't quite answer that question.
What was the question?
Have you finished playing Doctor Who?
Gonna need a straight answer, Ncuti.
But also he does very clearly say, no, I'm not the next Doctor. No, I'm not the Doctor anymore.
I've finished the main Doctor Who. We all saw the gold sparkle. Or did we? I don't know.
And he does provide some insight into why he no longer wants to play this role.
This is a relief to escape.
Oh,
fuss.
Yes. It's so nice to be back on stage.
As I say, we'll discuss it later in the video, but there are some very interesting sort of parallels between Christopher Ecclestone leaving in 2005 and Ncuti Gatwa's reason for leaving in 2025. Like, there's some very key phrases said by both of them, or allegedly said by both of them. When asked if he'd pop back to the role, Ncuti says never say never.
It was time.
But would you ever pop back with the mysteries of time travel? Because they do. You know, David Tennant keeps turning up again and again and again.
They do.
Can you ever imagine doing that?
Never say never.
I think that's almost a yes, maybe.
But the look on his face, I'm no body language expert here. Like, I'm not that YouTube channel that breaks down and analyses people's body language, but I think he looks pretty done with Doctor Who. When he's saying never say never, I think he's being a bit coy and a bit like, ooh, who knows, he's having fun, good banter with the interviewer, but I think the look on his face says he's gone. He's out of there. That's not ruling out, like, in 10 years' time for the 75th anniversary of the show, well, over 10 years' time, maybe Ncuti will come back as a multi-Doctor thing for that, for a cameo. I could see him doing a curator-type scene, but I don't think he's staying in the main role. But what is the theory that's sort of been spread around online about Ncuti Gatwa coming back? Now, it's interesting immediately that this isn't from a leaker, or a fake leaker or a claimed leaker. There is no Andrew the top secret leaker behind this point of discussion. This, I think, is just people on Twitter hoping that Ncuti Gatwa hasn't left the role already. Now, we know that in the behind-the-scenes stuff, like Ncuti Gatwa kicks off the behind-the-scenes stuff by going, "This was always the plan," which we know for a fact is just untrue. So people are jumping on that as a basis and going, oh, well, if that's so obviously untrue, is that because this is a big marketing ploy? Like, this is all one big prank. Like, Billy's not the Doctor, but Billy Piper has been sent there as either a bad wolf entity or the Moment or Rose Tyler. She's been sent into the TARDIS, let's say, when the Doctor sacrificed himself, right? He blew up into loads of regeneration energy, was trapped in a parallel universe, or maybe swapped places with Rose into her parallel universe, or something weird and timey-wimey happened that loses the Doctor forever. But the TARDIS, as a fail-safe measure, summons the bad wolf entity, or this consciousness of the moment sort of thing in the form of Billy Piper, to go and track down and save the Doctor, which would lead us into this reported anniversary special / Christmas special featuring David Tennant and Billy Piper. I mean, if you've got Billy Piper back, you're gonna want to reunite her with David Tennant, especially because it works for Disney Plus viewers in a way as well. They already know who that Doctor is because those specials are on Disney Plus, and with the possibility of them buying up the backlog to Doctor Who, if Disney Plus recommission more Doctor Who and time it, let's say, for a Christmas special, they go, we're going to have Tennant and Piper back for a Christmas special, when they put the backlog of Doctor Who, which is mainly, like, when you're early days, it's Piper and then Tennant. That could encourage people to watch all the old stuff on the platform and justify why they're doing this special. Personally, I do think it's a little bit too nostalgia heavy. I'd be here for it. I'm a Doctor Who fan. I'm a fan of Piper and Tennant. It would be nice to see, but I think the show needs not to just rely on its history. Anyway, this sort of general theory people are talking about, the Billy Piper form, whatever she may be, and the Tennant Doctor have to go track down and find Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor, restore him, bring him back into the universe, and then two things happen. Either A, Tennant and him sort of merge into one and they become the next Doctor, the 17th Doctor technically, or 16th, depending on what Billy is, or he's just back. Ncuti Gatwa continues from there. Billy Piper acts as a sort of bridge Doctor, as did David Tennant, while Ncuti's off doing a play, doing other things. Russell and team regroup, work out the future of the show, do some specials with Billy in the meantime as this bridge Doctor, and then Ncuti Gatwa takes back over. That is the theory going round online, which I don't buy at all. As I say, I think it's kind of built on goodwill and hope and utter shock that Ncuti has left this early, but I don't think there's any truth to that specifically. I mean, having Tennant and Piper back anyway is already a risky move. There was this article from the Radio Times which actually discusses that. I mean, I'll just read what it says because I agree wholeheartedly. Bringing Tennant back was already a risky decision, but Piper's return only proves that the show is relying on these stunts. So these bits of stunt casting are being held to sort of prop up the show from the falling ratings. Now, I've made countless videos talking about Doctor Who's ratings and how, yeah, they're not as good as they should be, but they're not as bad as they seem. Like, in this age of streaming, Doctor Who isn't doing horrifically. But it is, like, you can't escape the fact it's not, this new era has not done as well as the BBC, Bad Wolf and Disney had hoped. Otherwise, they would have recommissioned season 3 much sooner. Doctor Who has always been a show that pushes the boundaries and evolves with the times. Returning to a short-lived storyline from the 2005 revival simply means that the show will not be able to grow, as it will simply be contracting to a pre-existing narrative. It completely defeats the purpose of this series. Now, I don't fully agree with the ending of that. It doesn't completely defeat the purpose. Doctor Who has always been sort of rooted in nostalgia, but not as heavily as this. The most successful bits of Doctor Who have been, though, those like new and fresh things. 2005's revival barely mentioned Classic Who. Sure, you got a couple of Easter eggs thrown in there. And the Daleks were there, but they were recontextualised as like, the Doctor sort of got given a Superman superhero origin story. My planet's destroyed, I'm the last of my kind, and these are my arch enemies. Like, the Daleks were recontextualised in that sense. There was a Cyberman helmet, but it was just a reference. And when they did bring the Cybermen back, it was a new version of the Cybermen with a new origin story. It didn't feel like you had to do homework or piece old things together. Whereas it is inescapable that if you have Billy Piper and David Tennant in this special, homework has to be done. You have to have a baseline understanding of who on earth they are, why on earth they're here, and what on earth the relevance of them in the show is. And I think it is one of the things that killed the classic series. John Nathan Turner relied too much on, oh, we'll bring back this, we'll bring back this, we'll bring back this, and just kept relying on the old villains, and it grew stagnant and then collapsed under its own weight. And I really hope that's not the direction that New Who is going to continue taking. It needs something completely fresh and completely new. And Ncuti Gatwa was kind of supposed to be this fresh start. Everyone was heralding his casting as, this is the future. Like, this Doctor will be around for a long time. Ncuti said he's not going anywhere until he fights the Daleks. He's gone somewhere before fighting the Daleks. He said, like, there's that line in The Legend of Ruby Sunday where he hugs Ruby and he goes, don't worry, this face isn't going anywhere anytime soon. He even said as late as November 2024 that they were about to film season 3 soon. Ncuti Gatwa was never planning to leave after just 2 seasons, despite what the behind the scenes and despite what he keeps saying in interviews. So, what is the truth of the matter? Just a quick side note before we fully delve into that. Doctor Who production news here does actually make a very valid point on Twitter. This whole never say never, and people reading into things saying, oh, is Ncuti Gatwa teasing his return? I personally think he's not teasing anything, and that's just how he interacts in interviews. Like, he doesn't quite know how to answer the question, so he just sort of splurges a couple of words out there. Which, all power to him. We love Ncuti Gatwa. But I think this is the other possibility. Maybe he is sort of half referring to the fact that he will crop up in the spin-off show The War Between the Land and the Sea, just as Peter Capaldi did in Class, or David Tennant and Matt Smith both did at different times in the Sarah Jane Adventures spin-offs. Like, it's very rare. I mean, Torchwood, you never had the Doctor crop up, so it is rare that the Doctor doesn't show up in a spin-off, but also Torchwood is the closest thing we have to this new unit spin-off. It's slightly more mature, slightly more grown-up for a slightly more adult audience, and look, it's, I hate the word, but cope. It's not happening. I'm sorry, I just don't. Ncuti's gone. He is gone. And we've got to come to terms with that. But let's break down why he's gone. Why did he leave so early? And why are they all blatantly lying about it always being the plan? Well, Ncuti's official line as of this morning is this.
Why did you walk away?
Because I'm getting old and my body was tired. My body, my knee, because it's so good, it's strenuous. It takes a lot out of you. Physically, emotionally, mentally. It was time.
Physical. Ncuti, you're 31 or 32. Like, look, come on. You're one of the younger doctors. You are on the side of the younger doctors. And as pointed out by himself, he's currently doing ballet and a show. Ballet, I'm pretty sure, is slightly more physically draining than running down corridors from rubber monsters. There's all this talk, like, nowadays of people being, like, media trained, and the lies are just bizarre. There have been whisperings online about Ncuti injuring himself on the set of Doctor Who, and that being one of the reasons why he left, which I don't want to start any rumours, and I'm not revealing certain sources here because we have no idea whether it's true, but that could be one of the reasons why he keeps saying physical toll of the role. Like, there are rumours that he did injure himself on set. We know that Peter Capaldi injured himself back in 2016, which was one of the reasons why there was a year-long break. I can't remember what he did exactly, but he hurt his leg in some capacity while running down a corridor. So if it is true that Ncuti injured himself, I mean, surely he's recovered by now because of the ballet, but that could have just sort of thrown things off, delayed the show a bit. Maybe he then pulls out. Like, we don't fully know what's going on, but that's one of the lines that's a potential thing. Ncuti Gatwa may have injured himself on set and then just gone, yeah, okay, I'll move on and do something else that's less taxing of him. Now, the emotional and mental toll, that, to be fair, could be 100% true. When you're thrust into the public spotlight that much, and the amount of hate that Doctor Who gets, like, I try and stay relatively positive as a channel because you've got to remember, at the end of the day, these are creatives making a show. It's not the end of the world. Like, people, but Doctor Who YouTube, like, you get 10 million times more views by being negative. So to all of those people watching this channel that always comment like, oh, he's paid off, he gets more money to say nice things. I don't get any money to say nice things. Like, if I really wanted to make loads of money off Doctor Who YouTube, I'd just start spouting absolute lies and being so negative that it gets all the publicity and all the headlines. Like, you make more online by being negative than you do being positive. So I could completely see why Ncuti Gatwa, if maybe he's been exposed to all of this negativity, has gone, yeah, you know what, I've had enough. I want to do something where I'll be less in the public eye and get less hate mail. So while the sort of, oh, I'm getting old, like, that's just a silly quote, which this is, what's hilarious about this, right, is one of the big reasons that, like, you'll find Christopher Ecclestone at conventions saying, sack Russell T Davies, sack Julie Gardner, sack Jane Tranter, sack Phil Collinson. Like, you will find Ecclestone saying that at Comic-Cons because somebody, and we don't know who, but back in 2005, when Ecclestone chose to leave the role because of the drama behind the scenes and because of all that, he was falsely quoted by the BBC saying he was tired. And Ecclestone was enraged because he was like, look, I'll never work again. That's the worst thing you can say about an actor, is that a role was too tiring for them. And now here Ncuti is 20 years later, just outwardly going, yeah, I'm tired. Doctor Who is tiring. It's just a weird parallel. But yeah, some of the official lines as well, as I say, they're running with this idea that it was always the plan to do 2 seasons, which we know it wasn't. As I say, on the Graham Norton show in November of 2024, Ncuti said, soon we will begin filming season 3, so plans obviously changed. We know that in February there were big reshoots for the Reality War, which is probably one of the reasons why it feels like a little bit of a mess, because they had to change a lot up very quickly and add that regeneration. Apparently, you can go and watch the video on my channel, but the original ending of the Reality War saw Susan there with Poppy, and Susan calls Poppy her mum, and it's all that big, like, whoa, this is where Susan came from, hinting at season 3 that was yet to come. But obviously Susan got completely cut, and it's all a bit of a mess. But I think it's abundantly clear as well, one of the big reasons that Ncuti Gatwa left the role is because Disney took their time in recommissioning. Now, we can't only blame Disney. There's so many factors here, and what's quite nice about this is there isn't, despite what the internet may tell you, there isn't actually one person to blame. You can't look at one person and go, it's your fault this happened. TV climate, the amount, like the showrunner of Andor, right, was talking about the fact that Disney, apparently Disney said to him in a private meeting when he was trying to get Andor season 2 commissioned, streaming's dead, streaming's dying. There's not enough money in it. We can't financially sustain all of this. And that's Disney Plus, the same company that was going to be funding, well, was funding Doctor Who. And if Doctor Who isn't pulling in the viewing figures they want, then yeah, it's tricky to keep funding it. Now, why wasn't Doctor Who pulling in the viewing figures they may have wanted? There's 101 million reasons, and I don't think it's Ncuti Gatwa at all. Like, that man knows how to play the Doctor. But as I sort of alluded to toward the beginning of this video, starting with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, for the fans, was great. That was a great bit of event television in the United Kingdom. Everyone was getting interested in Doctor Who again, but it's that homework thing. It wasn't a complete fresh start. You kind of can't say to anyone, start with the Disney stuff and go forward. The fact that the 60th was not just BBC, but was on Disney Plus is kind of crazy, because the Star Beast being your first ever episode of Doctor Who, I feel like it's really not a good introduction. Church on Ruby Road and Space Babies acted more as that, but Space Babies, I think, like, once you're into Doctor Who, it's fine. Babies in Space is fine. But as your first ever impression, it's a little bit bizarre. You've also got to remember that originally, Season 1, so Church on Ruby Road, was episode 1. And then the week after Church on Ruby Road, so like New Year's Day, was going to be Space Babies. Then it was going to go weekly from there. That was the plan. And that would make so much more sense, because I think there was quite a buzz and quite a momentum built up around Church on Ruby Road. It was just after the 60th, and it was like, okay, let's really hit the ground running, go into it, new Doctor Who, it's going to be exciting. And then there was like a 5-month wait between episodes 1 and 2, between Church on Ruby Road and Space Babies. And I think that 5-month wait killed a lot of hype, killed a lot of the viewers, and, well, not literally killed the viewers, hopefully. People probably didn't die. But it certainly didn't aid Doctor Who. But point being, I think there's 101 external factors which led to Doctor Who not being recommissioned by Disney quick enough. And there are, once again, these are rumours, I've heard it from various sources, and it has been reported by, like, journalist magazines as well, but there's this idea that Ncuti Gatwa was actually, like, while, I think in around November, December time, he was offered a perfume ad in America, like, come and film this perfume ad, and the amount of money he'd have earned for that single perfume ad would have been roughly the same, I think slightly less, than an entire season of Doctor Who. And a perfume ad's going to be, what, like a 3 or 4, 5-day shoot at maximum? And the fact that he could do a 5-day shoot in America and the same money he could earn from an entire season of Doctor Who, understandably, Ncuti was like, look, I could be earning that money. But instead, he was sort of kept in the UK on hiatus because they didn't know when Doctor Who was going to come back. Now, it could also be the case that this perfume ad was scheduled for, like, January, and January was when Season 3 was supposed to happen, so contractually, Ncuti had to turn down the perfume ad and go, sorry, I'll be filming Doctor Who. But then obviously, when the January plans fall through, Disney doesn't recommission in time, Ncuti is instead left with no Doctor Who, no perfume ad, and yeah, understandably, he's like, well, that sucks. I'd like to have the opportunity to go and do these ads, do these other projects that will potentially earn him a higher salary than Doctor Who, because he's such an in-demand actor that, yeah, understandably, Ncuti was like, okay, I'm out. Like, Disney haven't recommissioned in time. We don't know when it's happening. I've lost out on a couple of other jobs. I'm going to go and do my own thing. Now, once again, we don't know how true that is. It has been reported by various sources, this idea of him missing out on other jobs, but the fact of the matter is we don't know whether that's true. So don't take it as gospel, but I think it's looking likely. Like, if I had to guess, put a guess to this, I'd say it's a combination of everything we've talked about. What's quite nice is I don't think there's a major drama behind the scenes. Obviously, with Christopher Ecclestone, there was bad blood, at least on his side, after he left the role. He was actively annoyed. Like, as I say, the stuff he says at Comic-Cons now is wild for anyone to be saying, like calling for people to be sacked. Like, I can't lie, it's slightly insane to do that. But yeah, there was bad blood, there was drama, there were big production troubles. I'm sure it'll eventually come out, the stuff that went down in 2005, but like one of the stories that gets thrown around is on one of the first days of filming, an extra almost got hit by a flaming sofa, which sounds mental, but it was a stunt they did film, and I don't think it properly makes it into the final episode, but from the Henrik's department store, when there's the big explosion, a sofa that was set on fire was like flung out of the set, and it almost hit an extra or something, and I think they weren't given adequate care, or director was a bit negligent, according to Christopher Ecclestone, because Ecclestone always talks about the fact that one of his big problems was the negligence on set and the higher-ups and whatever, but we don't want to speculate too much there because we just don't know, and it's not fair to be blaming or casting any professional accusations onto anyone, but yeah, it seems with Ncuti that it's not a case of bad blood or drama or anger. There's probably been a couple of things behind the scenes. When you're working that closely in that sort of environment, there will obviously be things happening, and people will point as well to the fact that Millie Gibson left early as well. Maybe it's not coincidence, maybe it is. Ncuti was set to do season 3 though. We know that. He wanted to do season 3, and I think it's very evident that, once again, through no particular individual's fault, but Disney didn't recommission soon enough, and that is the primary reason Ncuti left. So it is a shame, but it's the situation we're in. And I think it's very evident that's why Billie Piper was thrown in at the end. Russell was kind of panicking. If you've lost your lead, you've lost your doctor, you don't know when you're going to get a recommission, how do you ensure the survival of the show? You throw in a stunt casting like Piper, and Disney kind of has to pick it up at some point. But that's what we know. I don't get why they have to sort of lie about it. Like, why can't Ncuti just say that? Like, I think whatever the real full explanation of his departure is going to be a lot more simple than it's being made out to be. But maybe he has his reasons. We don't know. But there's everything we do know. Thank you very much for watching the video. As ever, if you did enjoy, please do remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, check out the Patreon if that's your kind of thing, whole host of Doctor Who videos, and potentially other videos coming to this channel soon. But stay tuned for that. Cheers, thank you, and goodbye.
Don't forget to click below and subscribe to the official Confused Adipose YouTube channel.
I will destroy you!
She's not seen a single episode.
No, I've watched your episodes.
Keep these sonic screwdrivers.
What else am I saying about the film? Don't watch this one.